No, wait a minute. This whole plan was your idea.
What? My
No.
idea? I'm just kidding. I know a quote. I'm just goofing. Welcome back, everybody. We're here. Another happy landing. Welcome back to the temple. Check this out. Audio listeners, you can't see it, but I ordered a baby Yoda, a Mr. Grogu himself Christmas sweater. It was supposed to arrive on the 20th of December. I got it 2 days ago.
It's like a rainbow should be shooting out of it. It's so good.
Yeah, we got Grogu on the front. We've got little froggies. Took forever to get for some reason. I communicated with their website. Was like, look, I wanted this sweater. Where the heck is it? They're like, it might still be coming. And then it showed up just under the 40-day wire for me to be like, look, you owe me a new one now. But I'm glad it's here. We're here to talk all things in the galaxy that is Star Wars, in the universe far away, the galaxy far away. I'm very tired today, but I'm here. Tanner, how are you doing?
I'm here. I got my tea. I'm sitting here in Washington as the beautiful sun crests over Tacoma, or Mount Rainier. So I'd say I'm doing not too half bad.
It's a like beautiful day this morning where I live as well.
It's like the Twin Suns theme should be playing as it comes up.
That's exactly what it looks like here today. That's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Because I live on a lake, so I got a similar feeling, except without, I guess, the sand.
Super side note, do you like when that theme still plays? Do you get super emotional when in the moments that it does play? Oh my God.
Luke standing out there in episode 4 with John Williams' iconic score playing. It is so good. It is so relatable of just looking out onto the horizon and viewing what you want your future to be.
Right.
That's why I love Yoda's lines of him being like, look, you're still looking at that dang horizon. You need to look at where you are. And I'm just like, I know, Yoda. I know. I'm wearing your grandson. I know.
So good. Wonderful moment.
All right. So we're going to start off today's episode by talking about there's no controversial news as of yet. But Tanner and I decided to read High Republic together. And so we both decided to go through part 1. We both got it on Audible, not a sponsor, should be. But love Audible. I'm not the best reader. I do have books here that I have read, but it takes me a while. So Audible is amazing. But we both got through part 1. We were just going to talk quickly of our general thoughts. So Tanner, why don't we start with you? How are you liking this new story years before episode 1? What are you thinking through part 1?
I'm enjoying it. I've got some minor nitpicks, maybe one major nitpick, but overall it's just good to be back in the Star Wars universe, getting a new Star Wars story, and not to mention like getting the Jedi at almost this like peak height of before they really start their decline. I mean, shoot, it literally feels like the Jedi are in an ivory tower at this point.
Yeah.
With the construction, they have like a new station that's not. I don't think it's above Coruscant. I'm trying to remember exactly where it's at, but a new station that has been done to death, and all of the art and promotion that we see for it. It's really fun to be in the universe again, to hear the stories and descriptions and connections that we see of Jedi through the Force. However, I will say that one of my complaints might be some of the hyperspace stuff that they get into, but we'll get into that. What are your thoughts, Al?
Real quick, because I forgot, before I say my thoughts, I want to thank the Movie Meal patrons who subscribe. If you are not one, go become one. We've got thank you to Kimberly and Steve above. You guys are awesome. And also go get some of the great Movie Meals merch, including Now look at the screen here. If you're listening on audio, you might want to go check out just this part of the show early on. Kyle and I dropped yesterday of when we're filming this. Tanner and I filmed this in advance, so you'll have a week left when you see this. But we dropped special Valentine's Day merch. We've got shirts. I love snacks because guess what, guys? At the end of the day, that's our true love in life. We took a great twist on some of the great quotes from Casablanca, some of the greatest love quotes you can have. One of them is, of all the movie theaters and all the towns and all the world, she walked into mine. We also have a he version of that. We've got great stuff. Go check it out at the Movie Meal store. Links are down in the description. I'm going to be having some of the options floating through. I've already got some on the way. It's awesome. Get it for Valentine's Day. Now, High Republic, my thoughts. I was very worried that we were going to retcon the Sith and we were going to have Sith in this story. Through part 1, I have been engaged. I have been interested. I have very much enjoyed what I've read, and there's no Siths, and I love it. I think of this, the story is kind of this Armageddon, story through part 1, and I like it. How did the Jedi handle something like the movie Armageddon? It's
right.
It's an interesting story. I like that we are going, seeing the Jedi at the height of their powers, where a bunch of them can go help out with this crisis, and they're all kind of dealing with different things. Tanner and I talked about this, and one of the things I've just had trouble with, because it's just me and my brain being slow, but the constant jumping back and forth on a new property. Tanner related it to the Game of Thrones novels quite a bit, which I haven't read yet, which I plan to, but at least seeing the show I know would help me because I now already know the characters. So I'm just trying to get used to these characters. I know by the end of the book I will. And I've really liked the different stories we've gone on who's in space, who's on the ground dealing with chaos when the rich start to attack the poor. So I have really enjoyed this book so far. The audible narration, I can't remember his name, but he is great. I've heard him do a couple of these Star Wars books. Great voice actor. But I have really enjoyed it. I'm very curious your complaint.
Here, I'm looking up currently who narrates Light of the Jedi. Mark Thompson. What is he?
Absolute stud in the game.
He is killing it when it comes to the work that he's done on this. Mark Thompson, American voice actor. He is known for... Oh, come on, PC. Now's the moment. You've been lightning fast besides this. Anywho, he's absolutely killed it. Compared to like some of the other voice audible books that we get a hold of, he has absolutely killed it. Okay, so he's known for... He was in TMNT. He was in a version of G.I. Joe. He was also in Mobile Suit Gundam. He's in a lot of things.
Just one of those voice actors that is in the game. He's a talent. I mean, I just finished the Ahsoka book on Audible, which I had read before, but it had been a long time. With the reintroduction of Ahsoka in The Mandalorian, I wanted to give it a reread. I already had it on Audible. I just hadn't gotten to it, so I decided to read that. And Ashley does a great job, but Ashley struggles a bit with her character changes because her voice is so distinct as
right.
Ahsoka. And not that she didn't do amazing. She did amazing. I love Ashley. She's an absolute monster in the game. But I Mark does such a good job making all the voices different to the point where some of the accents, it's like, man, he does that so well. I don't know if I was picturing that accent for this character, but I'm into it now. Like, he sells it. So, but what is your nitpick so far?
So, well, first I want to talk about like a little bit more of some of the positives that we've been talking about. And I do want to say that one of the talk about good things before we talk about and like lay into the bad. That the opener I actually really, really liked. it's like, okay, we're gonna just jump you right into the cockpit seat of the Legacy. What is it? Yeah, the freighter, the Legacy Run, is making a route to the Outer Rim with a cargo, a bunch of cargo, and I think about 9,000 people on it. And it's flying through. Something gets into the hyperspace lane, and she has to just like juke the ship to the side. Well, the ship's a big old freighter and breaks apart in hyperspace as it's shooting off. I love that. I love that. The fact that like we're getting introduced to these new characters, we have no idea about or what they're doing, or any of that. So anyone could be on the chopping block. I really like that. Uh, we're at a point in time in history of the Jedi that we don't. The only person that they've made and mentioned that's actually in current canon is Yoda, and Yoda's off somewhere else doing something with his group of cadets as they're adventuring throughout the galaxy.
Yeah,
But
training the younglings as he does.
yes, we are at a point in time in the Star Wars timeline where we don't know what's going to happen. We're not sitting there in the middle of the prequels knowing that eventually Anakin Skywalker is going to turn into Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And so we actually get that a couple of times. We're introduced to these Jedi that are fairly interesting, and then are just boom, they're just dead, like all of a sudden out of nowhere. And I've really enjoyed that. Also, not to mention, it feels like a really good just sci-fi book of
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
like, okay, we need to like run through, do the calculations, try to be able to get people out here. Oh shoot, if we burn too much right here, we're gonna run out of fuel. There's a lot of like risk evaluation that's happening that's in a very sci-fi way that's as they're going through, and I love it. Now one of my nitpicks, and weirdly enough, this is going to bring me to Last Jedi as well. That cinematically, one of the most stunning moments that I saw from Last Jedi that blew my mind when I saw it was the
Holdo maneuver.
The Holdo maneuver. I was blown away as to how beautiful it was. And then thought about it a little bit more and really kind of thought about like, wait a second, this feels a little universe breaking of like, if Holdo could do that, why couldn't we get other ships to do that in the Star Wars galaxy? You know what I mean? I mean, if we really wanted to, you could just get a bulk freighter, send it through hyperspace, and you'd be able to take down the whole empire. Beside the point. My issue that I slightly take up with this particular one is when the ship breaks up, there's some gas that's inside of it, and also not to mention there's all the other pieces that are heading towards like other planets in the system. But what is it? Nova? Do you remember the name of the gas that was heading to the star?
I do not remember.
Well, anyways, so there's this really volatile gas that was in the ship, and it's heading to the star, which is going to cause a chain reaction that causes the whole system to blow up.
Yeah.
And well, I don't know, a couple things of like, it feels like if a ship was to break up in hyperspace, that this would be way more common of an occurrence, and that they would end up hurting a system. I guess in that regards, that's where I find it slightly universe breaking, because it's like, if you really wanted to, why don't you just send a ship in hyperspace, break it up, and you could, in essence, damage a whole system by doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that being said, it's Star Wars. Like, I'm along for the ride. My suspension of disbelief is taken there, and we're having fun. Little universe breaking, but I'm having a lot of fun with it. Then the other issue that I take up with is sometimes I feel like in Star Wars we have this issue of it always has to be either a world-ending device, or something is going to happen to the system that is just going to rock it to its foundations. When sometimes I really kind of prefer a little bit more of the like, let's keep things grounded. Or if there is some sort of major conflict, like, I don't know, maybe we talk about it like it's I don't know, just a big army that's coming to do things. And so we have to think of, what are we going to do tactically? How are we going to like take care of this whole situation, rather than here's a big laser that's going to blow up a planet.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like the kind of tactical, more military stuff. The only thing that the universe breaking that I'm not on the same page with you at. The only nitpick I have is just, I would like, because I'm such a fan of disaster movies, like I would like to just stick on the ground for a little bit longer
Right.
as our guys are trying to, get people off the planet. Like I'd love to really dive into, a disaster movie in Star Wars.
Right.
I think would be really cool. And I like the characters we've gotten so far. I'm enjoying this book. Do you have any final things on the book, or if not, I think we got a good transition here.
I do have I do have a couple. There was a moment that happened. There was a Jedi Master and his Padawan that are heading down to the planet as like, and there was a discussion moment of like the first time they turn on their lightsabers and like what lightsabers mean. Whenever the sound comes out, it's the sound of justice and hope. And it was a really cheesy moment, but it just got me excited, man. Of just like you sit there and you're like, you hear the hum of a lightsaber in your head, and you're like, oh man, this is getting me so jazzed. The meaning behind all this.
Off of that too, there's a line later, or there's just a line in the book as well, talking about the hilts and how now the Jedi, it's like some of them really just changed their hilt off of the fashion style, and it's like, okay, so we really are at the height of the Jedi power right now. I mean, we are in episode 1, but it is about to crumble, and it crumbles that domino. The first domino falls in that movie. So it's kind of cool to see, a little line like that that's humorous, where it's like, wow, there would be Jedi that do that. You don't think of that. And it's funny that we don't think of that in the Star Wars universe, but then we'll spend a good portion playing Fallen Order designing our lightsaber. Like we want it to be as cool as possible, and what we like, are we going to go double bladed? Are we going to go one? Are we going to be able to break it apart? Like all this stuff. So
love that.
I like that they kind of play off of that, because it's those little things you don't think of as much.
Right.
I'm curious what you thought about. Oh, never mind. I'm misremembering. Never mind.
Oh.
Did you have anything else?
There was another one. The big one was, some people have been complaining about this online, and I'm actually like, I'm not complaining about it too much. There was a moment when they realized that the gas, like they finally have the realization, not only is it a ship that broke up, but there's also people alive in some of these cargo ships. So we need to save them. And then on top of that, there's this gas that's hurtling towards the sun that's going to cause a chain reaction. They finally realize that the system is about to blow up in essence. So they contact all of there's a moment where it was like one of the Jedi Masters of the Council is effectively like battle meditating and getting in touch with all of the other Jedi of the system. We're talking like Jedi on the planet side. We're talking Jedi in the longbows. We're talking Jedi in their little like fighters as they're going out throughout the entire system. And they're all using their powers of the Force to try and just slightly guide it away. And it works for it. They move it slightly, but it doesn't really work. And then it goes even wider of like other Jedi in other systems that are trying to like lend their strength into it. That I actually I was a big fan of those.
Why are people not liking that moment?
People are not liking that moment because they feel as though that it's what was the criticism, that it's too, they make the Jedi too powerful in that moment. Like the fact that they could do that it's been like, well, what, I mean, shit, they could just solve all their problems by just doing that more consistently. However, much like Full Metal Alchemist, I mean, everything has an equal and opposite reaction, and there's a cost associated with this. As all of these Jedi are doing this, I mean, they talk through of like, there are Jedi that are dying as they're doing this. They're throwing literally their entire being into this moment, and there are some that lose concentration, blow up in a ship as they crash into another one. Some of them fall off grain towers as they're trying to do this. And so I don't really feel like the criticism is warranted personally.
I don't either. What do they mean all their problems? Do they think if all the Jedi had just thrown their essence towards Darth Maul that they would have ripped him apart? Like, these guys don't know what the Jedi are about. They are the peacekeepers of the galaxy. That's dumb. That is dumb. That is the bad side of Star Wars, being dumb because they need something to complain about. I thought that was a better moment of what we got in Rise of Skywalker, is what I thought. Because we got all these Jedi in Rise of Skywalker who some we've never, or suddenly now they're as good as Qui-Gon Jinn in the afterlife. And they're speaking to Rey, and I thought this was better, where it was like, all right, this is how we can use the Jedi power together. There's a consequence, but at the end of the day, we're the peacekeepers, and we need to do this to save these people. And I loved the moment. I thought it was great.
Excellent moment. I wish they talk about this specifically being the disaster. And to be honest, you know what I would have loved in that moment? If like 3/4 of the Jedi, just from sheer exhaustion in the in that moment, had actually passed away.
Maybe they haven't. We don't know yet. Maybe it's going to take the Jedi we're following back to their temple to find out.
That could be it. But it's like I get what they're calling it, the Great Disaster, because it's like an entire system-wide event that's occurring. That's doesn't happen often. It in the grand, it happens pretty often in our movies of Star Wars. But but in terms of like the grand scale of the entire galaxy, an entire system about to be wiped off the map, it's a pretty uncommon occurrence.
Yeah, I really liked when they had like essentially you're looking at the Oval Eye, in the movies where there's a disaster and it's the president and he's like, I made the decision finally, evacuate the country or something like that. I liked that moment very early on in the book where he's talking through himself and he's like, you know what? Let's evacuate. He's like, I'll take the heat. Let's evacuate. I'm going to go down with the ship. We're going to get out of here. I liked that moment. That
reminds me of one moment that I actually really loved. I guess I just kind of really connected on it on a very like heartfelt level of it was this station it was a station manager that we hop into as he's like, man, I just can't wait to get off my shift so that way I can go talk to the pretty Twilight bartender again. Man, I love her. And she seems so interested in everything that I have to say, and it's so wonderful. And then as we're like listening to him as he's like monitoring the traffic that's coming in and out of the system, all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's something moving towards us rather quickly. Oh, there's like 4 other things and a bunch of other things. What should we do? Maybe we should go.
I did like with the gas too, where they have that conversation of like, can you stop this or hold it off? And he says no. And he's like, and then they kind of have this banter, and then there's an inner monologue for a while of being like, look, we have found survivors and we know there are more in there. And he goes, all right, I'm going to do my best and hold it off. And try to slow it down. And it's so much. This book, I think, is very, again, I don't read books very well, so I don't know what really makes a great book, but I think it is very well written because I am reading it and listening to it and visualizing in my head a complete cinematic experience. And that to me sells how good this book is, because I think it is great. And I think this author wrote the first Thrawn novel. I believe he wrote Aftermath, which is funny because I don't think Aftermath reads this way, but I am enjoying the heck out of the book.
There was one more. I had one last thing that I actually really enjoyed was the rescue attempt on the like one of the transfer stations that like one of the pieces of debris exiting hyperspace had come by and hit one of the stations. And there's a rescue operation of these guys that go onto the station to try to pull everyone from it. Well, one of the crew member realizes that this station's about to go critical if I don't put enough coolant into the system to make sure that it's good to go. Well, there's this back and forth of like, whatever, we'll just go ahead and send the droid down. That's fine. And then as they get down there, they realize there's another person that's alive on the station, and the Jedi's like,
crap.
Okay. Droid, I can't go get the guy that's pinned under there right now. I need you to go take care of him. I'm going to take care of the coolant. You guys go.
Yeah.
And that was a good, I thought that was just another good moment. It's nice to see that there are these interesting characters that we're getting involved in, that they're not afraid to let them die. Like I feel like they should be sometimes in the Star Wars universe. There's a lot of dangerous things in the galaxy. So I mean, when the stakes are there, you really kind of feel as though that people are in danger, and I like that.
Yeah. All right. So I think I actually think a good transition to be in, because we've referenced The Last Jedi so much, is to talk about what we have coming up in a lot of these episodes, and do the preview now. So for those listening, Tanner and I discussed when I first brought to him the idea, hey, let's do a podcast. Let's do a full show on Star Wars Daily, because we were having so much fun talking Mandalorian. And one of the, when we first,
side note,
what?
You did your little baby Grogu thing.
Yeah, that's my daddy.
God. It's so good.
For
Anyway,
audio
sorry.
listeners, he held up. Was that a candle?
That was a candle. Yeah.
He had up a candle and had a Mandalorian on it for the audio listeners here.
This is the way on the backside.
That's awesome. So one of the first things we talked about is, when Mandalorian ends, we're going to have a break because Marvel's going to kind of take over the Disney Plus shows for a bit. They're filming Andor or finishing Andor. Like a lot of those stuff is not pushed forward. They're not really working on any movies right now, at least in production wise.
Right.
So we said, what we should do is we talked about this on the first episode, but we are going to watch everything in chronological storytelling order. So we're going to start with episode 1. And we're going to stop at the Clone Wars. We're going to stop at Rebels. We're going to solo Rogue One until they decanonize these sequels. We're getting to the sequels. But we're going to rewatch them.
I'm going to throw it out there. Even if they decanonize the sequels, just for the two of us, we need to watch through that because, I am so excited for that conversation.
Yeah, even you talking Last Jedi on the Holdo maneuver, I have my defense of why the Holdo maneuver is awesome. Because I remember when the first person it was a friend of the show, Zach, our good buddy, who mentioned, like, why don't they do that with everything? And I remember I lost it on him. But we're gonna get into that. But we decided what we're gonna do is basically just review everything. And so for the shows, we're gonna take it season by season. So each episode, we're gonna have to get moving here. It's a good thing my coaching will be done. But so like for Clone Wars, we're gonna just watch all of season 1. That episode, we are gonna review Clone Wars season 1. And so we're gonna have full length, long, nerd, sweaty discussions on the channel about everything. And then we'll end, and we'll go out throughout. We'll kind of talk about, when we get to episode 2, we're gonna, on that episode, we'll be like, I have 1 or 2 ranked above, and we might talk about that at 3. But then at the very end, we'll do like a full rankings episode of everything in chronological order. We'll combine the movies and the shows, and we'll read the books throughout as well, because we're enjoying doing this together. We're just we're just a couple, we're just a master and Padawan. I don't know who's the master, who's the Padawan. Two Siths wanting to steal power from one another.
Or we are two young Jedi Knights that are sitting in the archives. For some reason, they seem to be incomplete, and we must finish them.
Ooh, or we're two clones who part of the Bad Batch. We don't look alike, but we're quirky and weird.
Two clones that are about to get slapped on the front line and then just get axed out of nowhere.
Yep, two clones chilling in a cockpit because they're not gay. That's a Vine reference. But yeah, so I'm excited for it because we're gonna have a lot of cool conversations. I am not old, sir.
I know I'm older than you, but every once in a while I gotta get it in.
I feel like I'm old until I'm with you, and then I feel young again. That's why I really brought you on. So, do you have anything else about the shows you want to, or this rewatch we're gonna do?
Yes, I am. Yeah, it's gonna take a long time. My God. But honestly, I think like how laissez-fairely I can just consume Star Wars content on a whim. I actually don't think it's gonna be that hard or that bad.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, because I mean, like I could literally be doing anything, and I'll just be like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and put on a season of Clone Wars. Just watch.
Yeah.
Continue watching through that. And
I love those TikToks where it's like it'll be something about your daily life or how you should be doing all this stuff, and then immediately it'll go to the Clone Wars theme and just somebody going like this. Like I love it. I love it.
I am wildly. I am super curious as to initial thoughts on where you think you might rank some of the mostly the prequels, because I know that we've discussed the sequels quite a lot with each other, and I'm dreadfully curious where do you think that your opinion of the prequels will be higher or lower than what they currently are?
So I have always loved the prequels. I love all three of them to death. I grew up on the prequels. Mm-hmm. That's why it's so hard to hate sometimes on Rise of Skywalker when I sit back and think of the kids I teach, outside of my one little boy who's a genius and knew not to like that one. But his dad's raising him well. But when I think of those kids and it's like they're obsessed with Rey and that full arc, even though it's not good, I just think about how I was obsessed with those DVD. I mean, Nick and I, shout out to my brother, Annie Essays on YouTube. Go check him out. Him and I got the full, we still have the DVDs that are also have the documentaries on them of the prequels. Yep. Those things are not even watchable now because they skip so much because we had watched them so often and just kind of thrown them in and out as kids that they're just scratched to all heck. I still have them downstairs. Because we loved it. We loved learning why George did everything he did. I was debating, and we'll probably touch on it in the review, but I think I was going to rewatch also the documentaries for the prequels.
Okay.
Just because I thought it'd be a good time to nerd out over that again. But normally I have episode 1 and 2 towards the bottom. It switches which one I like more, who gets that spot. Rise of Skywalker has jumped and competes in those low tiers. Revenge of the Sith has always been middle of the road to me. Like I like it over some of the stuff we've gotten that's newer, like Rise of Skywalker. I really like Solo, but I still like Revenge of the Sith more. And I'm excited for the rewatch to really get a fresh take with everything in order, because I normally don't watch. I haven't watched everything all the way through in order since I didn't do it for Rise of Skywalker. I only rewatched the sequel trilogy. So
little bit of homework I think it'd be fun to assign to the two of us before we go in is that we have a moment or just a little segment as we go through and we try to predict what kind of ranking that we'll actually have and see how close we are by the end.
Do a prediction ranking. That's a good idea.
And then also
changes.
And my other question was, is there Is there any particular movie that you think will either drastically jump up or jump down after watching the entire series, or just Star Wars in general?
The one I'm the most curious about, and putting in the Clone Wars and Rebels will be interesting, because I'm curious to see which one I rank higher, because I watched all of Clone Wars before it was finished, watched all of Rebels, actively loved Rebels more, watched the end of Clone Wars, and now it's like, man, I haven't gone back to rewatch it all. So I wonder if that's going to change. So that is curious for me, which one of those two I'll like more, and where I will rank those compared to some of the movies. And then the movie I have not watched in a long time, because the last time I did a full rewatch of all the films was before Last Jedi. So it's been a couple years. I have not watched Rogue One in so long that I'm very curious, after getting the finale of all the trilogy or the sequel movies, to see, is that going to really pop up? Have I not watched that one? Because I've watched Solo a couple times since, but is Rogue One going to really be a pleasant surprise, because I haven't watched it in so long? Even though I already really like it and love it, I just am curious to see if that's going to compete more than I remember. So
interesting. I'm actually really surprised that Rogue One is going to be the one that you're curious.
What did you think I was going to say?
I was curious if it might have been. Well, no, it seems like you're pretty rooted in your sequel opinions.
Force Awakens will be interesting on a rewatch too, just where I put it, because I've had it usually higher up. Same with Last Jedi. Last Jedi, I know we disagree. Last Jedi has been my third favorite Star Wars movie, so I'm curious to see if that ends up dipping or not. And Return of the Jedi, I love Return of the Jedi. So
Return of the Jedi is amazing. I mean, the Ewoks are meh, but I mean,
no, they're perfect.
They're okay. Dude, if they were Wookiees, come on, man, how cool would that have been if they were Wookiees?
Bummer you didn't get what you wanted, sir.
I know. It's a real bummer. I should get what I want.
Go on to Reddit and scream about it, and Jamie will do it. Anything else, or should we transition into our last topic?
I think that's all I got. I'm really excited for it, and I am so curious to see how differently we'll be viewing things, especially with time, after all this time, and after watching everything sequentially.
Yeah. All right. So the final thing we wanted to talk about today, talking about these movies, these great stories that we love. Are stories we would love to see in Star Wars, whether that is an adaptation, whether that is, because we talked about directors we'd like to come on, and we can still throw some names out, maybe, if we especially if there's like a specific director that we know, like Tarantino if they were ever going to do a bounty hunter gangster movie, that's him, or Scorsese, would be the pipe dream that'll never happen. But or if there's a novel, something in EU you would love to see moved over. I know we've talked Revan and Bane before, but I'll throw it to you first, Tanner. Is there a story that you would like to see in Star Wars?
Number one story that I would love to see in Star Wars is the Thrawn Trilogy. The original Thrawn Trilogy. The original decanonized Thrawn Trilogy. I'm not upset that it's decanonized, but it's such a wonderful story that I would love to see that again. And I really want to do actually a reread of the books, just to make sure that I did one fairly recently, the first book, and I don't think I'm looking at them through rose-tinted glasses, but man, I just love it. I know I've gone off many times about how much I love Thrawn and the Thrawn, those originally Timothy Zahn trilogy. But man, it would just be so cool to see some of those scenes actually put up on the silver screen. I would die for that. And
Thrawn is one of the characters they've really done great justice to, moving back into canon. Obviously, there are things in that trilogy that do not happen in our new canon, but they I think handle him really well. We've talked about actors we would love to see play him. Obviously, the man who actually voices him would be so great. But for myself, the first, and also real quick, I think when we finally kind of get to a point with some of the novels I think we should do throwback listens together or read throughs together to those old stories of, because I would love to do some of those Revan books to get a
Yes.
fresh reminder of Revan. Because I remember him, but it would be nice to do that. So
also
we'll
a character
watch,
study of like Bane. I would love
yeah.
I really would love to actually go through and do Bane as well.
Yeah, me too. And those are some stories I wouldn't mind seeing adapted. But the first thing that comes to my mind more than anything is I would love an adaptation of Lost Stars in the movies. It would be a great Disney Plus series too, and it might work better as a Disney Plus series because you could do the full thing in probably a 10 episode season if they were all an hour. But you could do a full trilogy of movies with that, because that is such a unique, different story and it's Claudia Gray just knows how to write, and she wrote those two protagonists just so well as they deal with being, a quick synopsis. I mean, the story is about two young kids, a boy and a girl, who grow up on the same planet. They're best friends forever. They are born and bred Empire lovers. I mean, they grow up thinking, I mean, the Empire pushed propaganda. We're amazing. We've seen this happen in our history over and over and over, from the Nazis to today. So they grow up loving the Empire when one of them breaks off and joins the rebellion, and they meet up throughout and they fall in love throughout it. And it's a love story. It's a heartbreaking story. It is very adult. There's some sex in it, and I love that we get a little more adult in Star Wars. And I remember it took me a while to get through the book just because I was in a position where I just didn't have really time to listen to things on Audible, because that's where I listened to it. And I finally had a good where I was living for college, driving back to where I live now, and then back is that's 10 hours there and back. It's 5 there and 5 back. So I finally was like, I'm going to listen to it, start it the second I get in the car, and I'm not going to listen to anything else until I finish it. And it was awesome doing that, because it was a good chunk of just sitting there, my stereo going. It felt like I was in the movie experience. And I love that story. It is still at this moment my favorite book. Maybe High Republic will dethrone it. We'll see when we finish. But I am right now, I adore that book, and I would love to see it. It's got a lot of great, Tanner, I know you love squadrons. It's got a lot of great space battles, and it's got moments throughout the entire, it takes place through all of the original trilogy. It is awesome. It is an awesome, awesome book.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Well, anything else? Other stories you want to see?
I've got a whole list of things that I would love to
next?
see. The next one, this one's weird because it's like, this was always my number 2 pick of a movie that I would love to see, but we're kind of getting it with Patty Jenkins directing Rogue Squadron. But I always wanted to get the Rogue Squadron books or the Rogue Squadron game, just an adaptation, and get some fleshing out of following along Wedge Antilles as he's going across his adventures in Rogue Squadron away from Luke. It almost has this like, did you ever like read the Ender's Game? Ender's Game. There we go.
I have read the first 2, and I love the first Ender's Game book. I liked the second one, but ended up not reading the rest. But the first one I've got them somewhere. I don't think they're behind me, but
it comes across almost like, if we followed along Wedge Antilles, it'd be if Luke Skywalker's the Ender, then Wedge Antilles would be the Bean that we're following, as he like goes from being a snub pilot to going and being a general in the Republic. An admiral in the Republic. That would be a really, really fun story. But that one's kind of already taken. So in terms of other ones, I've got a few actually genre movies that I would love to see. One being an honest to God samurai movie.
That would be cool. I think you got to go real old school in the galaxy. I think you need to go thousands of years before, where I think even past, if you think of the EU and you think of when they had armies of Sith and Jedi, I think you go even past that, Like, I want to see the galaxy when, like, it is tough to get from planet to planet, as if they are.
Right.
I don't want humans. Like, I don't want it where it's like we haven't explored space yet. I want it where it's very new, and like lightsabers are very new. That would be cool. I don't want an origin story, but I think if you go real old school with it, you could have a really cool samurai tale there.
Was there did you have any other ones that you were looking to be adapted, or stories?
Well, I was looking at some of my books on the floor here. I don't have the first one, but I have the sequels for Ender's Game.
Oh, nice.
But I also found these two bad boys. Legends, Revan.
Very nice.
And then Star Wars, the new, what did it say? The new Jedi Order. I've never read this. I don't remember where I got it. I remember where I got the Revan one. Funny story. An ex-girlfriend gave me the Revan book as my birthday gift. This book cost $8. We had been dating for a year. Yep. But
sweet
that
Jesus.
ended pretty quick. My sister gave me this. Now I'm just going off. My sister gave me this. May the force be with you. It is a journal, and I have yet to write. Like, it's a planner journal, and I have yet to write in it because I don't want to fill it up, because I just want it. I just want it here. I love the look. I love it. I love it. But anyway, stories I'd like to see adapted. Going then forward from Ancient Samurai, give me armies. I mean, I've talked about it. I still want it. I still will take it. I don't care if Dan and Dave left a sour taste. I would love a script that they wrote, directed by Sapochnik, of just a pure Battle of the Bastards fight at that time when there's armies of both. I think would be awesome. And the reason I think it would be awesome, and I've had trouble, or I've never really explained it this way, but when I was a kid, the thing that my brother and I did the most, I mean, when we got home, from school, especially in the spring and the summer, if our buddy's garage was open, it meant we could play. And there were 4 of us. And, there were 4 houses, because there was 4, 5, 6 of us. But each house was a different planet. We had Hoth, we had Mustafar, we had all the different planets. And what we used to do is we would hop the fence, and there was this like walking path that like cut behind houses. So it was fun for the kids, and, parents could walk and things like that. And if we hopped my fence to where that path was, where it was kind of open to one of my buddy's house, we called it No Man's Land. And in our mind, it would be the 6 of us with our lightsabers, with these exact lightsabers. I have Nick's, his green one. Same hilt, just different colors. My blue one. I mean, these things have been destroyed. I will never get rid of them. My mom was going to, and I saw her, and I grabbed them. I was like, "You kidding me?" But when we jumped over it, we called it No Man's Land. And what we would do is, it was, in our minds, it was all the Jedi from our stories were with us, except who we were. Like, I was always Obi-Wan. That's my boy. And then we were fighting droids, stormtroopers, clones of every villain. So there'd be multiple Emperors, multiple Vaders, multiple Mauls, multiple Grievouses, multiple Dooku's, Inquisitors galore. And my mom looks out the window with her coffee, and there's 6 boys just going like this. But in our minds, we are fighting an army. I mean, it's 2 armies going at it. And I still can visualize what I saw as a kid. And I would die to see that on screen. And we kind of get it in Attack of the Clones, but it's just not the same because it's not multiple saber users.
Right.
I would love multiple saber users. And I think the way to do it is a Bane story. And to make the story, how cool would it be if that movie opened up to a huge fight? Like, we get the Star Wars logo, whether they do a title crawl or not, which is something I'm excited about to talk about with Rogue One and Solo, about the title crawl. And then go right into, let's say it's a 2.5-hour movie. I want like the first 45 minutes is a battle, and we're just right there with whoever our protagonist is. And if it's Bane, that would be awesome. Like it's Bane, Sith, lightsaber drawn, ripping Jedi a new one.
Right.
And or if it's a Jedi who's going to then be the foil with Bane.
Did you ever watch the Old Republic animatics that they had
yes.
for? Oh
Yeah.
man,
Awesome.
Like that to a T.
Yes, and that would be amazing. And then just jump into the rest of the movie being Bane, whether they make it more movies or not, but Bane then hunting down the Sith and creating the rule of two. You could even get unique with maybe if you open up to like a young Padawan, and that's our protagonist, but then Bane ends up converting him and he becomes like the new Sith of this, world, the first ever apprentice to the rule of two would be a really cool, unique take on a story. That's what I'd love to see. Revan would be great if you follow what we have with Revan about him. I mean, he gets amnesia. He goes from Sith to Jedi to back to Gray. I mean, he goes everywhere. I think he would be a cool a trilogy worth of stories. But what else you got?
Heist movie. You could make such a fun heist movie in the Star Wars universe that has its own very unique spin. And I don't know what time period you set that in. To be honest, I if it was set during the Galactic Civil War, that would be a pretty good time period. I don't know if doing it during the Clone Wars or around that point in time would be the best, considering that there's a lot of chaos that's happening around that point in time, so that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm not even talking about like stick away from like you can have the rebellion kind of in the side, or maybe have like one of your characters as a rebellion, like as someone that's working with the rebellion, but they're like part of the crew because they're just trying to they're helping you to further the cause of the rebellion. Meanwhile, the rest of them are just a bunch of scoundrels that are just out there to try to get rich. Oh man, I would love I'd love to see that. Something akin to an Ocean's like an Ocean's movie there's another heist movie, maybe not as over the top as something like Mission Impossible, but
sure. I was thinking I got the perfect planet for you. Canto Bite. Let's go steal some money for the poor on Canto Bite, Tanner.
Oh my God!
I'm thinking as you say planet. That, if we followed like a group of con artists, I was thinking if they had a scene, I say no Jedi except for this. I want a scene like in the first Ant-Man where he kind of dupes Falcon, and it would be cool to see like a young new Jedi just show up for a little bit of time. And, wherever you place it, obviously, if you place it too far forward, you can't have this. But if you place it during the time of the prequels, like a new young hotshot Jedi, and they like have to break into the, maybe the temple on Coruscant for some reason, they have to do something to get some files just to finish their heist or like prep for it. It would be cool seeing a con artist dupe a non-master Jedi who is like, because you think a Jedi's always going to pull it out because they can just get the weak-minded to do what they want.
Right.
And it would be cool to see a con artist dupe a Jedi. And I think that's the only way you bring in a Jedi in a heist movie.
Yes.
And I would like it if they didn't, no bounty hunters. Just make it a legit more, not Han Solo, but it'd be cool if it was like a younger kid, like an Aladdin kind of kid going through and getting what he needs done. I think would be really cool.
In Aladdin kid, but I mean, I would also say that bring in like the older, more grizzled, like con man that's that is the guy that like pulls them into this, but our main character is someone that we're following like that.
Especially if they go Oceans with it. If they go with the Oceans movie and they get the tech crew and get the techno guy, that would be fun. I think that would be a fun break. Especially if that came after a controversial movie, because there's going to be another one.
Oh yeah. There's actually a few on here a few adaptations that we honestly might be getting. One of them was a spy movie. following the rebellion, but I think we might be getting that with the Cassian Andor series.
I think so too, especially with him because he has a little lost stars in him. He starts as a separatist, raised separatist, and then joins the rebellion in his later years. But it would be him being a spy is going to be cool. And I think you're right. I think that is what we're basically getting is a spy show, a James Bond style spy show. I think is what they're aiming for.
James is like a spy show that has the Star Wars trappings. So I mean, it's going to take some influences, but it's not.
There's a piece of news to touch on real quick. Alan Tudyk is not in the first season. He came out and said that they are not having K2SO in the first season of Andor.
That's a mistake. I'm going to say that right now. That's a huge mistake.
Here is my guess. I think that means that he is in it, and he's in the very end. And I think it's because part of the big ending to the first season is going to be, I think we're going to see a younger version of him. And then whatever he does that changes everything, I think is going to end with him reprogramming one of the Imperial droids that is K2SO to then join him. And then season 2 will follow both of them. I think maybe what they decided in the writing, because this show was announced so long ago that I think they have gone back. I think there's been creative differences that we just publicly have not heard about.
Right.
And I think one of their decisions was they want to tell Cassian's story younger than with K2SO. And so I think that's why he's not in it. So I'm not thinking it's a huge mistake yet because I haven't seen it, and maybe I will after I see it. But that's my guess is what's happening.
In Rogue One, I liked Cassian, but I wasn't like blown away by him. There's some interesting levels that I am actually really excited to explore. And I think the reason that I'm saying all of those things about Cassian is we just didn't really get a whole lot of him. It's like we didn't really get to see much of that character. Because there was one particular moment of him talking to Jin about the justifications that he's of things that he has had to do to survive and persist in the rebellion. And I love that moment. But man, I just feel like without that like buddy cop, Alan Tudyk coming in, injecting a little bit of humor in the moment, that you're so close. You're really going to be missing something though.
Yeah.
And
we'll see.
We'll see. Anyways, last
Any
one that I had
stories?
was Vader Comic. Dude, if we the more Vader that we can get, period, I am so there. And I read some of the beginning of the Vader comics, and this might be a little bit of a spoiler moment. But one of my favorite moments from that whole series was when he sends off he comes in contact with Luke Skywalker. And as Luke is fighting with his old lightsaber, and he has that moment of looking at him saying, "What? Why do you have my lightsaber? That's weird, huh?" And so they escape. Luke goes on, and Vader's like, "That was really strange. Boba, I need you to do a mission for me and go see what you can find out about this kid that just happens to have my lightsaber. That's weird."
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't say like he has my old lightsaber. It's like, I want you to go find out some information on this guy. Boba shows up, finds out, gets like taken away from the whole operation. Then he comes back and reports to Vader. I didn't find out much about the kid, but he has a last name of Skywalker, and then just walks off. And Vader's staring there, looking out of one of the Star Destroyer windows. And as it all begins to crack, and he goes through the memories with Padme of, like I have a child, and it's with us, as it just all of it begins to crush as he realizes that my son is actually alive. And
not only that, a Jedi.
Yes.
That would be cool. And I think they're waiting to see how Vader is handled in Obi-Wan and how he's received. And if Obi-Wan is taking place where it is, I think if Vader and that story is really well received, I think they do a Vader show of him hunting Jedi. I think they do at least a season of it,
That'd be great.
of a miniseries with him hunting Jedi.
But
again, we gotta wait. Go ahead.
Before we wrap up the show, because this was something that I'm dreadfully curious about from you. Yeah, going back to Light of the Jedi, you said that you don't want Sith in here at all. Why is that?
Because that would be breaking canon. They say no Sith has been around in 1,000 years in episode 1. Mm-hmm. And this is 200 years before that. So there should be no Jedi. They say it in A Phantom Menace, there are no Sith. There's never been a Sith seen. If we get like a little tease that like the Sith are and Palpatine also is not born. So if it is Plagueis hiding in the shadows, I don't want him to be the foil. It needs to be like an interlude of something lurking in the background without us knowing, because they say no Sith has been seen. No Sith has, that's the whole great thing about Darth Maul's line, I think, is, at last we are going to reveal ourselves to the Jedi, because he knows these stories. He knows about Sidious's masters, and he knows that the Sith have been in the shadows kind of pulling some strings this whole time, but they're finally going to reveal themselves again, that we did not go away when the Jedi thought we did, when they all killed each other, that we really stayed back and hid. And that is what I don't want a Jedi to meet a Sith, because Obi-Wan is the first Jedi and Qui-Gon to fight a Sith in forever. And I want that to stay canon and not have that be messed with.
I guess, maybe for me, because that movie was made 20 plus years ago, I guess maybe yes, it's going to shake up canon a little bit, and that's annoying. But that's also happened in Star Wars multiple times.
And in the books.
In the books, and also there was a couple things in the movies as well. Mostly in A New Hope, he's talking about like the Old Republic and everything that we stood for. Anyways, I'm getting a sense that we're probably going to get some level of Sith, considering that they announced the show The Apprentice. It makes me think that
The Apprentice.
Yeah, did you you don't remember that one?
No.
They announced a show that's going to be following a dark side user called The Apprentice during the era of the Grand Republic.
Okay, well, that's fine. It just has to be in the shadows. They can't meet. Or if they meet, the Jedi has to die for me, because then I don't want them to reveal themselves. And if they do, this is what I always say, if they do it right, I'll love it. But that is right now where I stand. And I get your point, but I don't want that to change.
I honestly, I really wish, I kind of wish that instead of doing, like the Grand Republic, I think is an interesting time, and we're probably going to get some amazing stories from it. I'm really hoping so. There's still a slight part of me that's like, man, maybe if we had just gotten back to like 1,000 years, so that way we could have actually gotten the High Republic, or the Old Republic. Sorry. That would have been. I would have loved.
But who knows? Maybe they are teasing something larger, and they have a plan, and he's going to kind of be the through these books. They want him to kind of be Thanos, and it's going to be Plagueis, and he'll be kind of in the background pulling the strings the whole time. Who knows?
That'd be cool.
But anyway, I think for another happy landing, we are wrapping this episode up, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you again to our Movie Meal patrons. You guys' names on the screen. Go get this awesome merch, you guys. I'm wearing the sweatpants right now. I don't think you can see. There's the donut. Incredibly comfortable. We got great stuff, and we got iPhone cases. We got masks. We got clothes. It's awesome. It's comfortable. This is not one of them. This is from a real company. But go get all that stuff. Links in the description. Twitter, all that good stuff. And for another happy landing, we are taking off out of here. Thanks for being here, Tanner.
Thank you, my guy. Another page turner it was.
All right, good.